and welcome to our module on universal scales. Now, if you already study with me, you know I'm a big proponent of universal scales because in my mind, they make every scale the same level of difficulty. Why is this important? Well, if you have played cello for a while, you probably know that there are some scales that if you use the open strings, they're really super easy, like C major, for instance. If I start in an open C, the C major scale is totally accessible and comfortable. However, some scales, because you can't use the open strings, are really inaccessible, like for instance, G flat major. So what a universal fingering does is it creates a fingering that works for every scale. It doesn't matter if it's C major or D major or D flat major, every scale feels sort of the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop the fingering for the major scale, major universal scale up on the screen. And what you should do is just pause the video and take a second to write it down. Now there are kind of two ways of thinking about this fingering. I'm gonna set my T down. You can either think of it as each individual finger number. So I would say 1 extended to 4, 1 extended to 4, 1 2 4, 1 2 4, 1 3 4. Or you can think of it as an open hand shape, another open hand shape. This is what my open hand shape looks like, a whole step between 1 and 2. A closed hand shape, another closed hand shape, and then 1 3 4 on the top. So those are kind of two ways of writing this pattern down. Now I'm going to pop the rules up on the screen for you. So go ahead and pause the video again to write down the rules, and I'll go over them one by one. The first rule is that you always have to use the fingering. This means don't add any open strings, don't use a different fingering because you think it will be more comfortable. It will end up messing you up, so always follow the fingering. Number 2 rule is on the way up, you're always going to shift to first finger. So ascending the scale, you're always going to shift to first finger. And on the way down, descending, you're always going to shift to fourth finger. Okay, the third rule is that you're always going to shift by one position. So what I mean by that is if I'm starting out in fourth position with my first hand shape, my second hand shape is going to be the next string over, but in third position. And then the next string over will be in second position, and the next string over will be in first position. Now the only time when this rule doesn't play fair is if I have to do 2 patterns on one string. For instance, if I was starting in D major, I would start first finger, first position on the C string, and I would do 2 patterns on the C string before continuing up to the next string. Make sense? Okay, we are gonna try a G major scale now together. So go ahead, feel free to pull out your own cello, and I'm gonna try to walk you through how to do a G major scale with universal fingering. We're gonna start out on our lowest G on the cello. Now technically our lowest G is the open G string, but I don't want to use that because we said, as before, no open strings, okay? So I'm going to find it in fourth position on the C string with my first finger. Open hand shape, which is extended 1 2 4. That was third position, so now I'm going back. Open hand shape on the G string in third position. Closed hand shape in second position on D string. Closed hand shape in first position on A string. To finish off my scale, I have to shift up to fourth position. Now this is kind of a cool moment. If you remember what position we started in on the C string, it was fourth position. What position did we end in on the A string? Fourth position. So you're going to start and end in the same position. I'm going to speed that up now. We're going to walk ascending up the scale, and I'm not going to say the positions anymore. So you just have to kind of follow along, follow my fingertips, and shift when I shift. G major, I think, is one of the comfiest ones to do with a universal fingering. It gets a little bit more complex when we switch to different keys, so let's try D major next. The lowest D on our cello is first finger, first position on the C string, so that's where I start. I'm going to do an open hand shape. So I'm shifting up to fourth position instead. Another open hand shape. Third position. Closed. Close, second position. 1, 3, 4 in first position. What position did we start in? We started in first, we ended in first. Now we'll come back down. Okay, that's kind of a crash course in universal major scales. I'm going to make another video for the minor scales, harmonic and melodic. But definitely comment below if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to answer them. Thanks for following.